and what the needs are, or what the perceived needs are of the departments, just the better off I think we're going to be.
Can I offer a little bit of history and perspective over the last many years? When we did do it, as Councilmember D'Ambra said, we did it both ways, but I can tell you very easily how this went. We had all the department heads, the former, when we wanted to see it earlier. And everyone went around the room and everyone basically gave us what they wanted, unfiltered by the manager. And when it was all said and done, it was just so out of the way that we had to just go back and have the manager go back at it and sit with each one of them and get it to a point that it would make sense. So I personally believe that it's the manager's job. It's essentially his budget, if you will, before it comes to us. The manager should be working with his staff because he knows what he has to deliver to us. I prefer that we can have them at the meeting, you know, if there's any questions that we have, but I don't want to waste time and, you know, kind of go around the table and get everybody's wish list only to know that Jeremy could have called this before we got to it. That's my recommendation.
So I would 100% agree with you, Mayor, that I think we should allow Jeremy to do his job, and I have confidence in his ability, and I also have confidence that we have the ability to also talk to each department heads and make sure that if there's anything missing, we have the ability to find that out. I would also, with regards to having a special meeting for the budget, I think it is a little premature in the aspect if we don't have our total expectations of revenue from the state, and it wouldn't just necessarily do us any good or any value to have that meeting. If they want to have a meeting to talk about current budget in current fiscal year, maybe we can talk about that, but I'm very comfortable where we are currently with our current situation for this fiscal year.
I understand what both of you are saying. I guess, Mike, I think we can go into a meeting with the recognition there's going to be some reduction of revenue, and we can maybe make some assumptions in that regard. I'm just concerned. I mean, Mayor, you're saying you're having surgery June 3rd. I don't know how long that's going to put you out, so to speak. But I don't want to get into it.
Just a couple of weeks, and it would give what I'm thinking. I agree with the Vice Mayor, because if we don't have the data and what Jeremy is saying, if we could wait another week or two or three, he would have the data that he can plug in. So we really have a much better estimate of where we are, rather than us jumping into something and not having even the sales tax, the ad valorem, even any of those things. I prefer to wait at least several weeks, and not just because of what's going on with me. I just would prefer to wait until that data is in. And Jeremy now has between now and then to work with his staff to come up with their budgets, essentially. And then these numbers come in. And so when he presents it to us, we have a much better idea of where we're going to be. That's my thought.
Well, I go on record and I concur with you guys as well. I mean, I'd prefer to utilize our time, excuse me, more effectively by having a proposed budget from, you know, Jeremy in regards to what our expectations are as far as revenue goes and costs, et cetera. I just think our time would be a lot more effective if we had that information prior to the workshop.
All right.
So our budget calendar, sorry, Mayor, our budget calendar currently calls for the manager to submit the proposed fiscal year budget to the council for review June 8th. So that week, at some point, maybe it's that Monday or shortly after that, I can have kind of a draft budget, and then we can work through some of the items that Mr. D'Ambra thinks that, if we, hopefully I've filtered some of the things out by then. But I have no problem submitting the laundry list of items that I have cut or that, that we've already reduced. That way you can see the department heads' needs that weren't be able to, that we cut out of the budget. So I think we can tackle your concerns, Frank, and still not be up against the time frame. I think we'll have plenty of time to work through it. I know in just looking at the meetings, and I think it's July, we're going to have the actual budget workshop. So, we don't actually approve the budget until, September. So, I mean, I think we got plenty of time, even waiting until, June and July to work through these problems.
If we could have it on the 15th, which would be 2 weeks after, like mid-June, Jeremy, would you think you would have as much, that you could give us some things that we could have a better idea of where we really are going to be?
Absolutely. I think by June 15th, we'll have a really good idea, or we'll be able to present the assumptions that we've made to that point. So I think that'll be a good time.
Council, are you in agreement that we could wait 2 weeks after our regular workshop and come back in 2 weeks?
That's fine.
Yes.
Yes? All right. Do I have consensus then? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. Anything else for this topic, these topics here? All right, let's move on then, please. Regular agenda, old business, there is none. New business, we have ordinance 2-20, first reading. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2-20 is an ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 5, Property Maintenance, Section 14-121, International Property Maintenance Code adopted to provide applicable conflicts and enforcement clauses, and to re-adopt the International Property Maintenance Code in part, provided each and every other section, subsection of Chapter 14 shall remain full force and effect as previously adopted. Finding a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. Included in the agenda backup is a brief memo that further explains the purpose of this ordinance, but to be very, very succinct and brief, Village historically has adopted the International Property Maintenance Code in total, and relies on certain provisions, mainly to handle minimum property standard type code enforcement cases. But the International Property Maintenance Code is sort of a model code that has a number of other provisions in it that we never use, and in fact has some provisions that are either redundant to or even in conflict with our own procedures and other matters that are found in state law and in the Florida Building Code. So what this ordinance does is it goes back in, and we continue to adopt the provisions that we use, but we're striking out the provisions we don't use. This is not going to change practice. This is actually kind of making the code conform to current practice, if anything. And it's, in my view, very much by way of housekeeping. And, we drafted the code. We worked with the building department to make sure that we were keeping the provisions that we needed to keep and getting rid of the ones that we don't use or that conflict with other provisions. So that's what this is. That's what it proposes to do.
Thank you. This is a public hearing now open for council comment. Anyone from the council?
My only comment is we have these multiple different agencies that throw out all these different requirements and regulations out there. By adopting them, we have the ability for individuals to pick something out of 1, 3, or 4 or 5 that we've agreed to use to their advantage. And that's my concern, is we've got all these different requirements. How do we identify which one takes precedent?
Well, so that's one of the things that this is doing. They're a great example are there's a whole bunch of procedural provisions in the International Property Maintenance Code, which we've never used. I don't recommend using. They never should have been in there in the first place. We have our own process for handling code enforcement. So, in the Florida Building Code, is another good example that, the Florida Building Code is not an option. We have to comply with Florida Building Code requirements. So to the extent that this International Property Maintenance Code has some overlapping things, it's really not even appropriate to keep them in there. So, state law, Florida Building Code, and then our own local ordinance for procedure, really, those are the things we're relying on and always have relied on. And Jose's here, and if he can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, really, this International Property Maintenance Code, the main thing that we've used it for historically is, as I said, minimum property standards, your overgrowth on vegetation, just keeping the property in a neat and tidy fashion. The public comment that was made earlier today, from what it sounded like, the description is a great example of something that these minimum property standards would be brought for an enforcement action if needed. So I'm not sure.
Keith, are you saying we've adopted this in the past, so it's already on our books in a prior form, and by adopting this ordinance at this time, we're just updating it and making sure that any conflicts between our current code and whatever this requires are addressed? Is that
yes. A good example is the International Property Maintenance Code has a provision that deals with swimming pools. Well, the Florida Building Code and Florida statutes have the mandatory swimming pool code provisions. So the fact that there's something else in this model code, it's not even appropriate for us to keep that on the books. What we did is we just adopted this thing in total instead of going through and picking what we really wanted to use. So this is really just going back and doing that.
So in the past, we adopted it in total. What we're saying now is we're readopting it, but any points of conflict, we're saying that our existing code or the Florida code supersedes.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else from the council? The hearing is now closed to the council and open to the public. Brad, can you please open the lines?
Lines are open.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public on this ordinance 2-20? Doesn't appear to be. Not quite sure what that sound is. I guess you could close it, Brad.
All right, Mayor, you're good to go.
Thank you. The hearing is now closed to the public. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I'm sorry? Do I have a motion? All right, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I thought somebody said the motion to approve.
Yeah, who moved to approve that, please?
I did, Lori.
I thought you did. You're still garbling a little bit, buddy. I don't know what the problem is with that thing, but I can hear about 70% of what you're saying.
We'll have to get you a headset. Okay, let's move on to item number 11, which is the approval of the network switch and access control replacement project. Brad Gomber.
Yes. Council, good evening. This project before you is coming to you because our current core infrastructure is quite old and it's out of support. We've had to implement several workarounds to keep several devices in service. It replaces all 13 switches in the village, unifying under a single manufacturer. This proposal includes professional installation services who will assist IT with the configuration and the rollout of all the devices. It also implements Cisco ICE, which is a network access control system that allows granular management of all network traffic. It significantly enhances our threat management profile by allowing IT to implement what's called a zero trust policy. That basically dictates which devices and users have the ability to access the network. And the goal of this project is to fix current problems, get everything under current support contract, and reduce long-term costs while simultaneously enhancing network performance and security.
All right, thank
If I can
you.
add something, this is a budget item, so, you know, it's one of those critical items that, you know, needs to be done for the village. This isn't, you know, I think we're almost to the point where it's not really an optional type decision for the security of our system and the functionality. And so it is a budget item.
Thank you. Any comments from council on this? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Final item is item 12, 2020 Governmental Assemblies Representation Appointments. Lori, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, can you do this?
I can. So the first governmental assembly is the Palm Beach County League of Cities General Membership Meeting. The current appointments has been Councilmember Stone and also Mayor Brennan serving as alternate.
Just so everyone knows, this is a monthly luncheon that occurs from Boca Raton north. Municipalities will take a turn, if you will, to have these luncheons. And it's actually 11:30 we get there for lunch, and noon to 1:30 is a program and the business meeting itself. So Vice Mayor, do you want to continue in that lead role? I know I go to everyone.
Yeah, I'll continue to go.
Perfect. I'm happy to remain the alternate unless someone else would like that position. Okay, hearing none. Let's go to the next one, Lori.
Okay, the next one is the Florida League of Cities. This is the annual conference in August of each year. We have Mayor Brennan as the representative, and we have all of council because as the alternates, because anybody can go to that meeting.
Right.
But I believe that the mayor is the voting member as the lead representative, voting delegate. And Kyle Stone was the alternate delegate last year for this.
I'm happy to do this for my last year. I've gone to this conference every year for a long, long time, but unless somebody else would like to have that role. Okay, and like Lori said, everybody's invited to go. Municipalities all over the state of Florida come, and a lot of times they have 2, 3, 4 members of their councils there. They just don't sit with each other, obviously.
Mayor, do you know if we're going to be having this?
When?
How,
Are they still talking about having this meeting?
Well, that's a good point. They are, what they're doing is being silent at the moment. They're not doing anything about this. So it's currently, or it was, I believe, August or July or August, but we haven't heard anything yet.
I think it was the first week of August in Hollywood.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you on a related note, I'm on the board of the Florida Municipal Attorneys Association, which is another part of the Florida League of Cities. And our annual seminar is in July, and we just decided to cancel that last week. So
It's
all I
like,
have to say, the league is looking at all these things, but I don't know.
but it's a high probability. It's a lot of people to be together in a
Yep.
conference center like that. You know, hundreds and hundreds of people are there, 1,000, I think. Okay, then we'll keep that, Lori.
I would still believe that maybe they would have some sort of annual meeting where the voting delegates need to come together to vote on things, maybe via Zoom or some other platform that they use.
Right.
Who would like to serve as the alternate delegate for that for voting purposes? Last year, for this current year, it was Vice Mayor Stone.
I don't mind continuing to do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So the next Governmental Assembly is the Palm Beach Countywide Coastal Council, and it meets as needed. Previously, the representative was Vince Arena, and Lori Brandon was the alternate. This,
Thank you. All right,
to be the representative.
Lori?
Yes, ma'am. What does that mean? I get bumped up now?
Tell me what's involved in that, if you don't mind. I'm not.
Oh, good.
Doing that.
Well, let me just say this. It meets so rarely, I don't think I could even tell you what they really do on this one. It's kind of a committee that I can't remember the last time they got together.
It's been a while.
So Lori, do you just want to take that lead on this one?
That's fine.
Bruce, do you want me to put you down as the alternate?
That'll be fine. Sounds like I'll be dead before y'all call me, but that'll be okay.
Hopefully not.
There you go. Appreciate that.
We'll have a
Okay.
meeting next month now.
You're right. Lori will kill me.
The next assembly is the Loxahatchee River Management Coordinating Council. They meet on the fourth Monday of the month at 2 at the River Center. The previous appointments were Vince Arena and Nate Literal served as the alternate.
Quick note on that, Matt Hammond has been attending those meetings and he plans on continuing to go to those meetings. It would be good to have, elected official go with him.
Anyone interested in the Loxahatchee River and a 5-hour meeting?
I would say, is this the really, really long one?
A really, really, really long one.
That makes it a little bit difficult, to be honest.
Probably a lot of good information in 5 hours.
5 hours?
At least. It's a long meeting and there's so many people on the board that by the time you get around the room for comment, it takes a long time, but they're doing good work. If you're interested in the water, obviously this is something that's important.
And how often do they meet?
They meet on the fourth Monday of the month, so monthly.
But I think what's happened in the past, Vince never went to these. He was the lead representative from a council standpoint, but I think Matt is the one that really is the one that gets the most out of it and then can bring back the information to us.
I'll be the alternate on that one.
No, you actually have to be the lead, Frank.
Oh, okay,
You know what I'm saying? Council member has to just be the lead, but it
All right,
doesn't
that's
matter
fine.
if an alternate goes, then
all right,
yeah,
that's fine.
okay,
I'll do.
thank you.
Okay, perfect. The next one is the North County Intergovernmental Coordination Program. There is no set schedule or time to meet. The lead representative was Mayor Brennan and the alternate was Lori Brandon.
I don't even know when they meet. That's not
Another one of those committees.
that's not Hal Valashay's committee, is it the North County?
I have Trish Weaver from
Yes,
Palm
yes.
County as the contact.
Yes, that's the monthly meeting. I go to that. That's the monthly meeting down in Juno Beach. They have it. And that is just basically Hal Valashay's meeting, our commissioner, his meeting. And same thing, you go around the table to the municipalities, we give a few minutes of an update, and then they usually have a program to go, they'll bring various other officials to have a program. I think, Jeremy, didn't you go to one of those with me? I think in the very beginning you did.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Would anybody like that meeting? I'm happy to keep it, but I'm happy to let it go. Okay, then.
It looks like it's you, Abby. Lori, are you?
Unless you want to swap. Do you want to just swap?
It's 9:30 every month on a Monday morning. And it goes for about 2 hours.
That's fine.
Okay, you can do that?
Yeah, I just can't do 5 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so then Lori Brandon is the lead and Mayor, you're the alternate?
Yes.
Okay,
Unless somebody else wants to be alternate. I said that too quickly. No? All right.
No takers. Okay, the next one is the Northern Palm Beaches Cultural Alliance. They meet on the second Friday of the month at 10 a.m. Lori Brandon is the lead, and Deb Telfrin has served as the alternate on this committee for many years, and she does attend from time to time.
Lori, have you gone to these
Yeah.
meetings?
Yeah, they aren't having them. They took a break, obviously, for COVID. It's kind of similar to the other one you're talking about. By the time they get around the room, just to say
Yes.
their greetings. I would like to see them be more productive, but they actually are in transition of changing out their chairs too. They're swapping around some of their board members.
Don't they also take trips around the county, or at least the north part of the county, and to highlight cultural activities like the theater and
Their
museum?
meetings are held scattered, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you'll keep that then?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to keep that unless somebody's dying for it. But no, more than happy to. They're a very nice bunch. They are very sweet.
They're a fun bunch, or they used to be. Should Deb still serve as the alternate on that? I know she enjoys that.
Yeah, unless somebody else from council would like to be the alternate. Seeing none?
And the next one is the Hobe Sound Chamber Tequesta Business Association Steering Committee. It meets on the third Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock. And I serve as the village's liaison, and we don't really have a council appointment to that committee. Not to say that we don't have to have a council appointment, but I do go to every meeting. I know that Kyle attended one of our last meetings before the COVID happened.
Yeah, I'd like to attend those meetings.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, the next one is the Palm Beach North Chamber regular meeting. Business before hours, third Wednesday of the month. Then the business after hours varies. The business before hours is from 7:30 to 9. And that has been Mayor Brennan and Christy Johnson served as the alternate. Business after hours was Kyle Stone. So let's go with business before hours. Who wants to serve as the lead representative on that?
I can continue on with that since I took over Christie's seat, if y'all like.
Okay,
As the alternate.
Correct.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't mind doing this. I go every month and I'm just there. And then Kyle, of course, does the evening ones.
and
Yeah.
for business after hours, Kyle, do you want to continue with that, or is there someone else that wants to do that?
If someone else would like to do that, I don't mind doing it. I just had a hard time attending a handful of those after hours. The morning is it's easier. Afternoon.
I can do it for you, Kyle, if you don't want to do it though.
You want me to be alternate for the morning and you take the afternoon?
Sure.
Very good. So the Palm Beach North Chamber Economic Development Committee, they meet as needed. And I have Kyle Stone as the lead this last year, and Christy Johnson was the alternate.
I'll continue on in her seat for her. For that.
Okay, so you'll serve as alternate, Bruce?
Yes, I don't mind. I mean,
I'm
if
sorry.
there's somebody else is dying to have it.
I don't
Yes,
see
as
Frank.
long
Is
as
Frank
someone
still on
else
the phone?
No, I'm
Yeah,
here.
Frank is down here
I
at the
was-
bottom.
Oh,
Kyle,
okay,
did-
there you are.
Kyle, did you still want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, I've enjoyed that one. That's the one that they've been talking more about mobility and opportunities there. And that's been
Okay.
good.
All right.
Okay, so we still have quite a few more to go here. So we have the Palm Beach North Chamber Governmental Affairs meeting. Abby Brennan served as the lead, and Kyle Stone and Johnson both served as the alternates.
That's a meeting. It's at 8 in the morning until 9:15. And it's once a month.
Do you still want to lead on that, Abby?
If you have the time to do it, that would be great. I'm going to go anyway, probably, but if you have the time, that would be great.
All right.
It's on the Friday after our council meeting.
All right. I mean, we can just share it if we can be co-leads if you want to do it that way, or one take the lead, one's the alternate, but either way.
Yeah, why don't you take it and I could be the, I could be your alternate. How's that?
That's fine.
Great.
Okay. Next one is the Palm Beach North Chamber Smart and Connected Regions. Brad Gomberg was the lead on that, and Lori Brandon was the alternate.
That has
And that's-
disbanded because they got what they wanted to do for the most part.
Okay, so I'm going to
Brad?
take them off the list.
Right. That was an ad hoc and they've been disbanded.
Okay, they will be off the list. Palm Beach North Chamber Environmental Subgroup. I don't have anybody listed for
One that
that.
I've been going to.
That's what you've been going to?
Yeah, it's led up by Chelsea Reed.
How
Excellent.
is that, Laurie?
I mean, it's good. It's a great group of people from different municipalities, and they've been bringing in, each meeting has a special guest that comes and discusses what their big business is doing to be environmental friendly, such as FPNL. There was a guy from the Everglades area a couple months ago that came in to talk about moving water and where they dump water for other companies from the farmers and whatnot. It's slow, but they're picking up pace a little bit.
Would
They
it
just
make
started.
sense? Would it make sense for Mr. Bradford, since he's the chair of the environmental committee, to reach out to him to see if he'd like to be an alternate on that?
Unless a council member. Maybe, council member? Lori, what do you think?
You asking me this, Lori?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't mind either way. I know Mr. Bradford or even another member of the EAC would probably more than happy to go as an alternate.
Well, maybe we can work on that then, and you can let Lori know. If council approves that, we would find a citizen from the environmental committee to serve as alternate. Okay.
Okay, so I have Lori Brandon as the lead and an EAC member as alternate. Okay, No Wake extension of Intracoastal Waterway in Jupiter Narrows. It meets as needed. We had Vince Arena was the lead and Frank D'Ambra served as the alternate as a resident.
That committee's kind of in I think a holding pattern. Obviously, there was objection from the marine industries, even though the amount of distance that was in question here was only a couple of thousand feet. And Palm Beach Department of Recreation at this point in time has not been cooperative in terms of doing anything consistent with that would allow for any type of a slowdown in that arena. And given that situation, the whole thing's kind of on a hold position. So I'm not sure whether it's really worthwhile at this point in time to maintain formal presence on that. I mean, if the group reemerges again, their activities resume, might want to list it, take it up again. But right now, I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not.
Okay, so we can just leave that with nobody on the committee for right now.
Well,
And-
you can put me down, but like I said, I think that committee's inactive at this point. It's the best way to describe it.
Frank, Jeremy can bring you up to speed more, and we'd have to do it here, but there was a meeting with FWC after the fact that I attended as well with Hal Valashay, and it really kind of was put to bed at that time. But
Okay.
the Beach Road Association, is still going forward. But Chip Block, for instance, from Inlet Colony, he came back as well. He was at that meeting. We've pretty much taken a back seat on that at this point. Let it go.
Yeah, I think he had a different agreement in terms of the strategic direction of the
Right.
Beach Roads efforts. So
Right.
yes, I think as far as the municipalities, they've all kind of they're kind of all in a neutral position at this point.
But if something comes up, then you said you would chair it then.
Yeah,
You would.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, great.
Okay, and then we have the Villages Environmental Advisory Committee. Lori Brandon serves as the village's liaison on that committee.
Perfect.
Lori, you gonna stay?
You want me to? They have nice long meetings.
I do.
I will give them credit though. They are definitely a passionate bunch and they are definitely looking at a lot of good environmental issues for the Tequesta area.
Good.
Okay, and then the last thing I have is a voting delegate for the Palm Beach County League of Cities. Last year, the voting delegate was Mayor Brennan, and the alternate was all of council. Just makes sense, but we leave it with Abby or another council member.
That's fine.
Okay, Lori, we'll just leave it there.
Well, I'm happy to step up on as an alternate in that situation.
Okay.
Okay, so Abby and Frank, and that concludes the year's governmental assemblies appointment.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Lori, just for memory's sake, you're going to publish this forth, right? So we all know where. And if you could also remind us of when some of these meetings take place, that would be very appreciated.
Oh boy. Okay, how about I'll just put them on your calendar?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, and I don't
great.
obviously know when all of them meet because I don't attend all these meetings. I only have a pretty,
Well, at least the first set that
Ones
we're
that I know.
just committed to.
well, I will be sending each of those entities information as to who is serving on their committees and give them your contact information and they will reach out
Okay.
to you with
That's fine.
when they have their meetings. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Excellent. Anything further on this? Keith, do we have to vote on this or these are just appointments?
They're just appointments.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, then we are in any other matters. Does anyone still have anything to talk about? Not that I'm leading that question.
No. I just had one item which has come up before, but I would like us to maybe get a little more proactive on this. The west side of US 1 from Beach Road up to the village where most people think the village border starts. That borders along the park area there. That land was under the control of the Bureau of Land Management, and they delegated the responsibility for maintaining from the fencing to the road to the state of Florida. And I know we mentioned once before about the idea of approaching DOT about transferring that responsibility to us, which would allow us to make some improvements along that stretch of road, because that is the entranceway into the village from the south. And that area looks atrocious. So, maybe that's something we could put on a workshop to look into, but the possibility of assuming control, whether the state would provide any funding, et cetera, going forward. So just an item for consideration.
Okay, I know there is some things going on now, Frank, because of the Lighthouse Museum and everything having to be moved and the Coast Guard station. It's across the street, but it's the same BLM now has responsibility.
Yep.
So they are in fact talking with what they call their stakeholders, and Tequesta is one of them. And they have put it on hold because of COVID at this time. But it is definitely something we'll have a chance to talk to them about.
Okay.
All right, anyone else for any other matters? Okay, then may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Stay
you,
safe, everybody.
Yep, thank you
Good night.
to the public who's here this evening. Thank you for tuning in. We very much appreciate your participation. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.